Jake never thought his Tuesday would end like this. He was fixing a broken cooling unit in the engine room when the whole ship started shaking. Not the usual gentle vibration you feel during space travel, but violent shaking that made his tools fly everywhere. The lights went out for 3 seconds. When they came back on, red warning lights were flashing all over the place. The ship's computer started making that annoying beeping sound that meant something was very wrong. "Attention all passengers and crew," the captain's voice crackled over the speakers. "We have a major engine failure. Please report to your nearest emergency stations immediately." Jake grabbed his tool bag and ran toward the main passenger area. The hallways were full of smoke, and he could hear people shouting from different parts of the ship. His heart was beating fast as he tried to remember his emergency training. The transport ship's Star Runner was huge. It could carry about 200 people when full, but this trip was different. They only had 12 passengers and 5 crew members. It was supposed to be a quiet run between the human colonies and the Altarian trading posts. Jake had been working on these space routes for almost 4 years now. He knew every sound the ship made, every vibration it produced. This was bad, really bad. The kind of engine failure that could leave them floating in space for weeks. When he finally reached the main passenger lounge, the scene was chaos. People were grabbing emergency packs and following evacuation procedures. The crew was trying to keep everyone calm while moving them to different safe zones. Throughout the ship, through all the noise and confusion, Jake noticed someone sitting alone. In the corner, a young woman with light blue skin and the most unusual eyes he had ever seen. She was clearly not human. Her skin had this soft glow to it, and her eyes were larger than normal, with a bright silver color that seemed to shine even in the dim emergency lighting. She was wearing simple traveling clothes and holding a small bag close to her chest, while everyone else was panicking or following crew orders. She sat there looking around with what seemed like curiosity rather than fear. Jake realized she must be Altarian. He had heard about them, but never actually met one before. The Altarians were known for being peaceful and intelligent. They had started trading with humans about 10 years ago, and some of their young people came to human colonies to study. "Hey," Jake called out to her as he approached. "Are you okay? Do you need help getting to an evacuation point?" She looked up at him with those bright silver eyes. "I am fine, thank you," she said in perfect English, though she had a slight accent that made her words sound musical. "My name is Kira. The crew told me to wait here while they organized the evacuation." "I'm Jake," he said, extending his hand. When she shook it, her skin felt warm and soft. "I work on the ship's systems. What's your story? Are you traveling alone?" "I was studying at the University on New Terra," Kira explained. "Human literature and culture. Now I'm returning home to share what I learned with my people." Before Jake could ask more questions, there was another violent shake. This time, something exploded in the distance, and they could hear metal tearing apart. The lights flickered again, and suddenly blast doors started closing all around them. "Emergency protocol activated," the computer announced. "All sections are being sealed to prevent atmosphere loss." Jake watched in horror as the heavy metal doors slammed shut, cutting off the passenger lounge from the rest of the ship. They could hear muffled voices and footsteps on the other side, but the doors wouldn't respond to his access codes. "The others," Kira said quietly. They were moved to Section C before the doors closed. Jake pulled out his communication device and tried to contact the bridge. Nothing. He tried the emergency channels. Still nothing. The ship's communication system was completely dead. He looked around their sealed section. They were in the main passenger lounge, which connected to a small dining area, some sleeping quarters, and an observation deck. There was also a storage room with emergency supplies. "How long can we survive in here?" Kira asked, and Jake could hear just a hint of worry in her voice for the first time. Jake did quick mental calculations. The emergency life support should give us about 4 days of air, maybe 5 if we're careful. Food and water won't be a problem. There are emergency supplies. And rescue? That depends on whether the crew was able to send a distress signal before everything went down. If they did, help could come in 2 or 3 days. If not, Jake didn't want to finish that thought. Kira stood up and walked to the observation windows. Outside, there was nothing but stars and the dark emptiness of space. No other ships, no planets. No signs of civilization anywhere. "My people have a saying," she said, still looking out at the stars. "When the universe closes one path, it opens another. Perhaps we are meant to be here together." Jake joined her at the window. "I hope you're right, because right now, it looks like we're completely on our own." As if to prove his point, another section of the ship's hull groaned and shifted. Whatever had caused the initial failure was still causing damage. They were trapped in a broken ship, floating in the middle of nowhere, with no way to call for help. But somehow, looking at Kira's calm expression and the way she seemed to accept their situation with grace, Jake felt a little less afraid. Maybe they would find a way through this together. The first night was the hardest. Jake barely slept, listening to every sound the ship made. Every creak and groan made him wonder if they were about to lose atmosphere, or if another section was falling apart. Kira, on the other hand, seemed to sleep peacefully on one of the passenger seats she had converted into a makeshift bed. When the artificial morning cycle kicked in and the lights gradually brightened, Jake was already awake, staring at the ceiling. He had spent most of the night thinking about their situation and what they needed to do to survive. "Good morning." Kira's voice was soft but cheerful. "Did you rest well?" "Not really," Jake admitted, sitting up and rubbing his eyes. "I kept thinking about everything that could go wrong. My people believe that worrying about tomorrow steals joy from today," Kira said, stretching gracefully. "We should focus on what we can control." Jake had to admit she had a point. "You're right. We need to make a plan." They spent the morning exploring their sealed section of the ship. Jake showed Kira how to read the emergency panels and explain what each warning light meant. She was surprisingly quick to understand the technical details. "On my world, we learn to work with our environment rather than against it," she explained while helping Jake check the air recycling system. "These machines are just another kind of environment." The storage room was better stocked than Jake had expected. They found enough emergency food packets for about 6 days. Water recycling equipment, basic medical supplies, and even some tools. There were also blankets, emergency lights, and a small portable heater. "We need to ration everything," Jake said, arranging the supplies, the food, the water, even our energy. "We can't afford to waste anything." Kira nodded seriously. "I understand. But Jake, we also cannot afford to waste our spirits. If we spend all our time worrying about resources, we will forget to live." They set up a proper living area in the main lounge. Jake used his engineering skills to optimize the lighting and temperature controls, while Kira organized their supplies and created a schedule for meals and activities. "Tell me about your world," Jake said during their first shared meal. The emergency food wasn't great, but Kira had somehow made it taste better by adding some spices from her personal travel bag. "Altair Prime is very different from human worlds," Kira began, her eyes lighting up. "We have crystal cities that grow from the ground like plants. The sky is always purple during the day, and we have to moons that dance around each other at night." "That sounds beautiful," Jake said, genuinely interested. "What made you want to study human culture?" "Curiosity," Kira smiled. "My people are naturally curious about other ways of thinking and living. I wanted to understand how humans create art and stories. Your emotions are so intense compared to ours." "What do you mean?" "Humans feel everything so strongly. Love, anger, fear, joy. On my world, we feel these things too, but more gently, like a calm river instead of a rushing waterfall." Jake found himself fascinated by her perspective. "Is that why you seem so calm about our situation?" "Most humans would be panicking by now." "Perhaps," Kira said thoughtfully. "But also, my people believe that every experience has value, even dangerous ones. We think that facing challenges together creates strong bonds between people." On the second day, they established a routine. Jake would spend the mornings checking all the systems and looking for ways to improve their situation. Kira would organize their supplies and plan their meals. In the afternoons, they would work together on various projects, and in the evenings, they would talk. Jake discovered that Kira was incredibly intelligent. She understood complex ideas quickly and often offered solutions he hadn't considered. When he was struggling to repair a damaged air filter, she suggested using fabric from the seat cushions in a way that actually worked perfectly. "How did you think of that?" Jake asked, impressed. "On my world, we are taught to see connections between things that seem unrelated," Kira explained. "Everything is connected if you look carefully enough." During their evening conversations, Jake learned more about Altarian culture. They valued harmony, understanding, and what Kira called soul connections, deep friendships that transcended surface differences. "What about your family?" Kira asked one evening. "Do you have people who worry about you?" "My parents live on Mars Colony," Jake said. "They wanted me to become a doctor or a lawyer. Something safe. They worry about me working on these transport ships, and now they have reason to worry," Kira said gently. "Yeah," Jake laughed, "but it wasn't a happy sound. If we don't make it out of here, they'll never know what happened to me. We will make it," Kira said with quiet confidence. "And when we do, you can tell them about the time you survived with an alien girl who taught you to see connections." Jake really looked at her for the first time. Her blue skin seemed to glow softly in the dim light, and her silver eyes held a warmth that made him feel less alone. "Kira," he said slowly, "can I ask you something personal?" "Of course. When you look at me, what do you see? I mean, do I seem as alien to you as you do to me?" Kira was quiet for a moment, considering the question at first. "Yes, your skin is so pale, and your eyes are so small and dark. But now I see Jake. I see someone who is kind and brave and worried about his family. I see someone who works hard to keep us safe." "I see the same thing when I look at you," Jake said. "At first, I only saw the differences. But now I see someone who makes me feel calm when I should be terrified." They sat in comfortable silence for a while, watching the stars through the observation window. For the first time since the accident, Jake felt something other than fear about their situation. He felt curious about Kira, about her world, about what they might discover about each other in the days ahead. Tomorrow is day 3. Jake said eventually. "Yes," Kira agreed. "Halfway to rescue, if your calculations are correct, and if they're not, then we will find another way," Kira said simply. "Together." By the third day, Jake and Kira had fallen into a comfortable rhythm. They woke up when the ship's lights gradually brightened, shared a simple breakfast, and then went about their daily tasks. But something had changed between them. The initial awkwardness of being strangers trapped together was fading, replaced by something deeper. "Jake," Kira said during breakfast, "I want to share something with you, something important about my people." Jake looked up from his emergency food packet. "What is it?" "On my world, when two people are isolated together like this, we believe it is not an accident. We think the universe brings souls together when they need to learn from each other." "That's an interesting way to look at it," Jake said. "Humans usually just call it bad luck." Kira smiled. "Maybe both views are correct. But my people have rituals for situations like this. Ways to honor the time we have together and learn from each OT." Jake was curious. "What kind of rituals?" "We call it deep sharing," Kira explained. "It means telling each other our true stories. Not just facts about our lives, but our hopes, our fears, our dreams. The things that make us who we are." Jake felt a flutter of nervousness. "That sounds intense." "It can be," Kira agreed. "But it also creates understanding, and understanding creates connection." "Would you be willing to try it with me?" Jake thought about it. They were already sharing everything else: food, water, air, space. Maybe sharing their inner thoughts wasn't such a big step. "Okay," he said. "But I'm not sure I'm good at talking about feelings." "There is no wrong way to do it," Kira said gently. "We just speak honestly with each other." They moved to the observation deck, where the view of stars made everything feel more intimate. Kira sat cross-legged on the floor, and Jake joined her. though he felt awkward copying her position. "I will start," Kira said. "My biggest fear is that I will return to my world and find that I no longer fit there. After studying human culture, I think differently now. I see things my people might not understand." Jake was surprised by her honesty. "What kinds of things?" "Human passion," Kira said. "The way humans throw themselves completely into their emotions. My people are more controlled, but I have learned to appreciate intensity. I worry that my family will think I have become too human. Would that be such a bad thing?" Jake asked. "Not bad," Kira said. "Just different. Change can be frightening, even when it is growth." Jake found himself opening up in return. "I guess my biggest fear is that I'm wasting my life. My parents wanted me to do something important, but I chose to fix machines on transport ships. Sometimes I wonder if I'm just hiding from real responsibility." "What would real responsibility look like to you?" Kira asked. "I don't know," Jake admitted. "Maybe helping people in a more direct way, being part of something bigger than myself." "But you are helping people," Kira pointed out. "You keep the ships running that connect different worlds. Without people like you, there would be no trade, no cultural exchange, no way for an Altarian girl to study human literature." Jake had never thought about his work that way. "You make it sound more important than it feels." "Perhaps you judge yourself too harshly," Kira said. "My people believe that all honest work has value." As the day went on, they continued their deep sharing. Jake told Kira about his childhood on Mars, about feeling like an outsider because he preferred working with machines to socializing with people. Kira shared stories about growing up in a crystal city, about the pressure to be perfect in a culture that valued harmony above all else. "I have a confession," Kira said during their evening meal. "I was nervous about this trip home, not because of the distance, but because I was not sure how to explain what I had learned about humans." "What did you learn?" Jake asked. "That humans are not as different from us as we thought." Kira said, "You feel things more strongly, yes, but the basic emotions are the same. Love, fear, hope, loneliness, these are universal. You felt lonely." "On my world, sometimes," Kira admitted. "It is hard to be the only one of your kind in a place. People were kind to me, but I always felt like I was being studied rather than truly seen." Jake understood that feeling. "I've felt that way my whole life, even around other humans. But not with me." Kira asked. "No," Jake said, realizing it was true. "With you, I feel understood. Like you see the real me, not just the surface." "I do see you," Kira said softly, "and I like what I see." They sat in comfortable silence for a while, watching the stars. Jake found himself studying Kira's profile. The way her blue skin seemed to glow in the starlight. The graceful way she moved even while sitting still. "Kira," he said eventually, "can I ask you something that might sound strange?" "Of course." "Do you ever wonder what it would be like if we weren't from different worlds? If we were just two people who met under normal circumstances?" Kira considered the question. "I think about it sometimes. But then I remember that we would not be the same people if we came from the same world. Your human intensity and my Altarian calm, they balance each other. Perhaps we are exactly who we need to be." "I never thought about it that way," Jake said. "My people have another saying," Kira said. "The flower that grows in the desert is not the same as the flower that grows in the garden. But both are beautiful. In their own way." Jake smiled. "Your people have a lot of wise sayings." "We have had many centuries to think about life," Kira said. "But wisdom is not the same as experience. This time with you is teaching me things that no amount of thinking could." "Like what?" "Like how it feels to trust someone completely," Kira said. "On my world, we trust gradually, carefully. But here, with you, I had to trust immediately or we would not survive. And I found that I could." Jake felt something warm spreading through his chest. "I trust you too, more than I've ever trusted anyone." "That is a gift," Kira said. "Both the trust and the ability to receive it." As they prepared for sleep that night, Jake realized that something fundamental had changed between them. They were no longer just two strangers trapped together. They were becoming something new. Not quite friends, not quite something else, but definitely connected in a way that felt important. Tomorrow was day 4, Jake said as they settled into their sleeping areas. Yes, Kira replied. One more day until your estimate says rescue should arrive, and if they don't come, then we continue to grow, Kira said simply. Together, Jake lay in the dark, listening to Kira's gentle breathing, and found himself hoping that rescue would come soon, but also hoping that when it did, whatever they had built together wouldn't be lost. Day 4 started differently. Jake woke up to find Kira sitting by the observation window, looking out at the stars with an expression he couldn't quite read. The artificial morning light was slowly brightening, but she seemed lost in thought. Good morning, Jake said softly, not wanting to startle her. Good morning, Kira replied, turning to face him. I was thinking about time. What about it? On my world, we measure time differently than humans do. We think about moments of connection as being worth more than ordinary moments. Yesterday felt like it lasted much longer than the day before. Jake understood what she meant. Their deep sharing had created a sense of closeness that made time feel more meaningful. I know what you mean. It's like we've known each other for weeks instead of just a few days. Exactly, Kira said. My people believe that when two souls truly see each other, time becomes deeper rather than just longer. They shared their breakfast in comfortable silence, each lost in their own thoughts. Jake found himself watching the way Kira moved, the graceful way she handled even simple tasks like opening food packets. Everything about her seemed deliberate and peaceful. Jake, Kira said after they finished eating, I want to show you something, another tradition from my world. What kind of tradition? We call it harmony meditation, Kira explained. It's something we do when we want to understand someone better. Would you be willing to try it with me? Jake was curious. What does it involve? We sit together and focus on breathing at the same time. It helps us feel connected and calm. My people believe it allows us to sense each other's emotions more clearly. That sounds interesting, Jake said. Is it safe? Kira smiled. Very safe. It's just breathing and being present with each other. Nothing complicated. They moved to the main lounge and sat facing each other. Kira showed Jake how to sit comfortably and how to breathe slowly and deeply. Just follow my breathing, she said gently. Don't think about anything else. Just be here with me. At first, Jake felt awkward. He was used to always thinking about problems and solutions. But gradually, as he focused on matching Kira's breathing pattern, he began to relax. Good, Kira said softly. Now, just listen to the sounds around us, the ship's systems, the air recycling, even the silence between sounds. Jake found himself becoming more aware of everything. The gentle hum of the life support systems, the soft sound of their breathing, even the way the artificial light cast shadows in the room. This is nice, he said quietly. Yes, Kira agreed. On my world, we do this with friends and family. It helps us feel connected even when we're apart. As they continued the meditation, Jake began to understand what Kira meant about sensing emotions. He could feel her calmness, her gentleness, even a slight sadness that he hadn't noticed before. Are you sad about something? He asked. A little, Kira admitted. I'm thinking about how this will end. When rescue comes, we'll go back to our separate lives, our separate worlds. I'll miss this. Miss what? This feeling of being completely understood by someone, Kira said. On my world, I'm surrounded by people who think like me. It's comfortable, but it's not challenging. You make me think in new ways. Jake felt a warmth in his chest. You do the same for me. I've never felt so comfortable with another person. Usually, I'm always worried about saying the wrong thing or being too awkward. You're not awkward, Kira said with a smile. You're honest. My people value honesty above almost everything else. They spent the morning in various forms of meditation and gentle conversation. Kira taught Jake some simple exercises that helped him feel more centered and peaceful. In return, Jake showed her some of the technical aspects of the ship that fascinated her. Your mind works so differently from mine, Kira observed as Jake explained how the air recycling system worked. You see systems and connections between mechanical things. I see connections between people and emotions. Maybe that's why we work well together, Jake said. We balance each other out. I think so too, Kira agreed. That afternoon, they decided to create something together, using materials from around their sealed section. They began building a small garden. Jake used his engineering skills to create a water circulation system, while Kira used some seeds she had brought from her world to plant something that might grow. Even if rescue comes tomorrow, we can leave something beautiful behind, Kira said as they worked together. It's like a symbol, Jake said, carefully adjusting the water flow. Proof that we were here together. Yes, Kira said, gently planting the seeds. And proof that two different kinds of people can create something beautiful together. As evening approached, they sat in their usual spot by the observation window. The small garden they had built sat nearby, a reminder of their collaboration. Kira, Jake said, I need to tell you something. What is it? I'm scared about rescue coming, Jake admitted, not because I don't want to be saved, but because I don't want to lose this. What we have here. Kira was quiet for a moment. I understand. I feel the same way. But Jake, what we've shared here isn't something that can be lost. It's become part of who we are. But we live on different worlds, Jake said. How can we stay connected across that kind of distance? Maybe we can't stay connected in the way we are now, Kira said. But we can carry what we've learned from each other. I will always remember how you taught me to appreciate human intensity and passion. And maybe you will remember how I taught you to find peace in the present moment. Jake felt tears forming in his eyes. I don't want to just remember you. I want to know you. You do know me, Kira said softly. Better than anyone ever has. And I know you. That doesn't change just because we're in different places. They sat in comfortable silence, watching the stars. Jake realized that Kira was right. What they had shared was deeper than location or circumstances. It was understanding, acceptance, and a kind of love that transcended the usual boundaries. Tomorrow is day 5, Jake said eventually. Yes, Kira replied, if your calculations are correct. Help should come soon. And if they don't, then we continue to grow together, Kira said, just as she had the nights before. But Jake, I think help will come. I can feel it. How? Call it intuition, Kira said. Or maybe it's just hope. But I believe we will be rescued. And I believe that what we've found here will survive the rescue. Jake reached out and took her hand. Her skin was warm and soft, and he felt a sense of peace flow through him. Thank you, he said. For what? For showing me that connection is possible, Jake said. For teaching me that being different doesn't mean being incompatible. Thank you for teaching me that intensity and gentleness can coexist, Kira replied. For showing me that trust can be immediate and complete. They held hands in the starlight, to beings from different worlds who had found something universal in their shared experience. Tomorrow would bring whatever it would bring, but tonight, they were exactly where they needed to be. Jake woke up on day 5 to the sound of something he hadn't heard in days. His communication device was beeping. Not the error beep it had been making, but the incoming signal beep. He sat up so fast he almost fell off his makeshift bed. Kira. He called out, his voice full of excitement and fear. She was already awake, sitting by the observation window. I heard it too, she said, but her voice sounded different. Sad, maybe. Jake grabbed his device and managed to establish a weak connection. Through the static, he could hear a voice. This is Rescue Ship Aurora calling Transport Vessel Star Runner. Please respond if you can hear this. This is Jake Chen, engineer on the Star Runner. He said into the device. We're alive but trapped in passenger section B. 2 survivors. Copy that, Star Runner. We see your location. We'll have you out of there in about 2 hours. Jake felt a rush of relief so strong it almost made him dizzy. They were going to be rescued. They were going to live. But when he looked at Kira, she wasn't smiling. We did it, he said, trying to sound happy. We survived, yes, Kira said quietly. We did. The next 2 hours passed in a strange blur. They packed their few belongings and cleaned up their living space. The little garden they had made sat in the corner, the seeds they had planted just beginning to show tiny green shoots. "Look," Kira said, pointing to the garden. "Life finds a way, even in the most difficult places." Jake understood she wasn't just talking about the plants. When the rescue team finally cut through the blast doors, Jake was surprised by how loud the outside world seemed. The rescue workers were professional and efficient, checking their health and asking questions about their time in isolation. "You two did very well," the lead rescuer said. 5 days in a sealed section with limited supplies. You should be proud. As they were led through the ship to the rescue vessel, Jake saw the damage for the first time. The Star Runner was badly broken, with entire sections torn apart. It was amazing they had survived at all. "The other passengers and crew?" Jake asked. "All safe," the rescuer replied. They were evacuated to a different section that maintained communication. "They've been worried about you too." On the rescue ship, Jake and Kira were separated for medical examinations. Jake kept looking around, trying to catch glimpses of her, but the medical staff kept him busy with tests and questions. "You're both in remarkable condition," the doctor told him, "a little dehydrated and tired, but otherwise healthy. You managed your resources very well." "We worked together," Jake said. Kira knew a lot about resource management. The Altarian girl. "Yes. She mentioned you took good care of each other. It's not easy being trapped with a stranger, especially someone from a different species." Jake wanted to say that Kira wasn't a stranger anymore, but he wasn't sure how to explain that to the doctor. Later, when they were both cleared medically, Jake found Kira in the observation lounge of the rescue ship. She was looking out at the stars, just like she had every night on the Star Runner. "How are you feeling?" he asked, sitting beside her. "Grateful to be alive," she said, "and sad that our time together is over." "It doesn't have to be over," Jake said. "I mean, we're alive. We can stay in touch." "Jake," Kira said gently, "I'm being transferred to an Altarian ship that will take me home. You'll go back to human space. Our worlds are very far apart." Jake felt his heart sink. "But what about everything we shared? What about the connection we made? It's still there." Kira said, "It will always be there. But connections can exist even across great distances. What matters is that we had this time together." The next few hours were a whirlwind of paperwork and arrangements. Jake learned that he would be taken to the nearest human station, where he could contact his family and figure out his next job. Kira would be transferred to the Altarian diplomatic ship that had come to pick her up. They had only a few minutes alone together before the transfer. "I have something for you," Kira said, pulling a small item from her bag. It was a crystal, about the size of a coin, that glowed softly with inner light. "What is it?" Jake asked, taking it carefully. "It's a memory crystal from my world," Kira explained. "It holds light and warmth for a very long time. I want you to have it to remember our time together." Jake felt tears in his eyes. "I don't have anything to give you. You gave me something much more valuable," Kira said. "You gave me understanding of what it means to be human. You showed me that intensity and gentleness can coexist. You taught me that trust can be immediate and complete. And you taught me that being different doesn't mean being incompatible," Jake said. "You showed me that connection is possible across any distance." They hugged goodbye, and Jake was surprised by how right it felt. Her warmth, her gentle strength, the way she seemed to understand him without words. "Will I ever see you again?" he asked. "I don't know," Kira said honestly. "But I know that what we shared will influence both of our lives. Maybe someday, when we're both older and wiser, our paths will cross again." "I hope so," Jake said. "Me too," Kira replied. 3 months later, Jake was working at a space station repair facility when he received a message through diplomatic channels. It was from Kira. "Dear Jake," it read, "I have returned home safely and am now working as a cultural liaison between our peoples. I specialize in human Altarian relations, and I often share the story of our time together as an example of how understanding can bridge any gap. I hope you are well and that you remember to find peace in the present moment. Your friend always." "Kira," Jake smiled and looked at the memory crystal she had given him. It sat on his desk, glowing softly, a reminder of their 5 days together. He wrote back, "Dear Kira, I think about our time together often. You were right. What we shared didn't end. When we were rescued, it became part of who I am. I've applied to the diplomatic corps to work on interspecies relations. Maybe someday I'll be able to help other people find the kind of connection we found. Thank you for teaching me that the universe brings souls together when they need each other. Your friend always, Jake." 6 months after that, Jake received another message. This time, it was an official invitation to attend a cultural exchange program between human and Altarian space stations. The program director wanted someone with experience in interspecies cooperation. The program director's name was Kira. Jake smiled as he read the invitation. Maybe some connections were strong enough to reshape the universe itself. Maybe two souls who had found each other in the darkness of space were meant to find each other again. In the light of a new beginning, he accepted the invitation immediately. After all, he had learned that the best adventures often began with two people from different worlds, willing to trust each other and build something beautiful together. As he prepared for the journey, Jake looked at the memory crystal one more time. It seemed to glow a little brighter, as if it knew that the story it represented was far from over. Some connections, he realized, were meant to last forever.